During NFL Week 1, the Rams beat Seattle in Seattle 30-13. I was very surprised. I thought Seattle would beat LA, beat the Rams. What happened? I watched the game, and there's a lot of things that happened. I want to be very clear. I'm going to credit the Rams, but we're going to start by talking about Seattle. But the Rams did a very good job, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But first of all, Seattle actually had a lead, 13-7 at halftime. And in the first half, Seattle had the ball 4 times. They scored on 3 of their 4 drives, and the other drive was a missed field goal. The first half drives for Seattle were field goal, touchdown, field goal, missed field goal, halftime. That's a great job. Like they put points on the board. They were moving the football really well. In the third quarter, in their first 2 drives of that third quarter, both of their tackles, Charles Cross, their left tackle, Abraham Lucas, their right tackle, both of them got hurt. They left the game hurt. They didn't come back. Then receiver Tyler Lockett, also on that second drive of the third quarter, left the game with a concussion, or concussion concerns, we'll say. Now we're getting word, by the way, that Seattle's brought in a 41-year-old tackle, Jason Peters, former Philadelphia Eagle. They're doing whatever they can. They're getting desperate at tackle. Seattle only had 4 drives in the second half. They had 4 punts, 3 3-and-outs, and they really struggled to protect Geno Smith. So what happened to Seattle in the second half, Geno Smith played a clean game, no turnovers for the entire game, but the offense couldn't really do anything. Both of their tackles were hurt. One of the receivers were hurt. It's hard to win when you can't protect your quarterback, and they couldn't in the second half. I think it was a tale of 2 halves for Seattle. They had a lead 13-7 in the first half. 3 of their 4 drives they scored. In the second half, both their tackles on their offensive line get hurt. Tyler Lockett gets hurt, and they couldn't move the football for good reason. Your offensive line is really, really important. So that's half the story, right? Half the story is Seattle dealt with injuries in the second half that were kind of crippling. But the other half of the story is where I kind of get fired up. I get really excited because I want to speak to the Rams. I was surprised they won, and I want to quote the great Shaquille O'Neal. Shaq has a quote, "I owe you an apology. I really wasn't very familiar with your game." I really wasn't familiar with your game, guys. Let me ask you a question. Who does this sound like? This team has a veteran quarterback, a young offensive line with potential, a veteran leader on defense, young guys everywhere. They got a stud rookie receiver. To me, that sounds like Seattle. Seattle's got Geno Smith, a veteran quarterback, 2 tackles in their second year on the offensive line, starters last year. Got a rookie first-round receiver, Jackson Smith-Njigba. A lot of young starters. Got a veteran linebacker, Bobby Wagner, who's a captain, right? That team, veteran quarterback, young offensive line with potential, veteran leader on defense, stud rookie receiver, young guys everywhere. That could be describing Seattle. But you could also be describing, I can't even talk, you could be describing the LA Rams. Veteran quarterback Matthew Stafford, he threw for 334 yards. Got a young left tackle, Alaric Jackson, undrafted player in his 3rd year. Undrafted player, starting at left tackle for the Rams, doing pretty well. Matthew Stafford did not get sacked 1 time in this football game. Got a rookie left guard, Steven Avila. Again, rookie, undrafted free agent on the left side of your offensive line. Matthew Stafford was not sacked 1 time. And then, hey, the rookie receiver, we thought Jackson Smith-Njigba out of Ohio State was going to be this, a really great player week 1. He's coming back from wrist surgery. I understand that. But the rookie receiver that stood out in this football game is actually 5th-round pick Puka Nacua out of BYU. He had 10 catches for 119 yards. Oh, by the way, the other Rams young players played really well. They have a 23-year-old receiver, Tutu Atwell, 2nd-round pick in 2021. He had 6 catches for 119 yards. He had the same number of yards as Puka Nacua. They were killing it, man. The Rams' 2nd-year running back, Kyron Williams, ran for 2 touchdowns. On the day, the Rams ran for 3 touchdowns. Cam Akers also ran for 1. The Rams' secondary had a ton of young starters. They had 2 young corners, Kobe Durant, a 4th-round pick in 2022, and Darion Kendrick, a 6th-round pick from 2022. And their safety, Russ Yeast, was a 7th-round pick in 2022. Their secondary is littered with guys in their 2nd year that were drafted late in the draft last year. And, those week 1 starters for the Rams played really well. These young guys were making plays. It was cool to see. They deserve respect. Rams rookie linebacker Byron Young, 3rd-round pick this year, out of Tennessee put a lot of pressure on Geno Smith, man. He was making play after play, not just in the second half when Charles Cross and Abraham Lucas went down, but also in the first half when their tackles were healthy. The Rams' young guys were making plays all over the field. It deserves a tip of the cap, a salute, respect, whatever you want. During the offseason, I talked about how Seattle had a ton of young and talented players, and they do. Many of the guys starting in Seattle started last year as rookies. But the Rams' young players who had less experience didn't play as much last year, but looked better week one. The Rams' young guys looked better than Seattle's young guys week one. And if you look at the Rams, they've got 23 of their 53 players in their first or second year in the NFL. 23 of the 53 guys on the Rams roster are rookies or in their second year. Seattle's similar. Seattle has 21 guys either that are a rookie or in their second year. But it's time to hype up the Rams the same way I did Seattle, right? Hey guys, I was not familiar with your game, quoting Shaq. But you look at the Rams, they got a ton of young talent. They got an awesome coach, Sean McVay. And suddenly like that, after 1 week, I'm like, oh wow, okay, I believe in the Rams rebuild. They got young guys making plays everywhere, and I owe them an apology. Here is how the Rams ended the game. These are the drives in the second half of week one. Every drive in the second half of week one, the Rams scored. 10-play touchdown drive, 9-play field goal drive, 14-play touchdown drive, 9-play field goal drive, and then another 9-play field goal drive. They won 30-13. And man, hey, the Rams. Round of applause, you guys. Well done. Well done. The Rams exceeded my expectations week one. Their young guys look awesome. They looked well coached. They're making making plays everywhere. And I heard something terrifying during this football game. Rams defensive lineman Aaron Donald said that he needs to make a name for himself again. Because last year he only played in one game, got hurt. And a motivated Aaron Donald is a terrifying thought. That's a guy who was once the two-time back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year. He is amazing. And the last thing you want to hear if you're an opposing quarterback is Aaron Donald's angry and wants to show what he can do. Suddenly, the Rams, I had them at, 2-15? Probably going to be wildly wrong. It's only week one, but if they win 6 games or 7 games, I'm going to say that I was way, way off. And I don't think they look like a 2-win football team. They got young guys making plays. They are not, they got a tougher schedule, but I think they got a couple of games that they can win this year. And the Rams, they're not going to be a great football team. I'd be very shocked if they won they made a playoff game or won their division, nothing like that. But I think the best thing the Rams could do this year is be, of the teams with a bad record, they could be the best of the bad teams. And that's a good accomplishment. I thought that was going to be the Indianapolis Colts. They've got some talent. They got a young quarterback who can make plays. But, hey, man, the Rams looked really good week one. And I walked away impressed with them. Now, I identified a problem in Seattle during week one. Seattle, it's been a problem for years. It's been a consistent thing, but Seattle cannot get pressure on opposing quarterbacks. It's a problem. The Rams had a rookie left guard, and their left tackle was an undrafted free agent in year 3. Undrafted free agent at left tackle, and a rookie left guard, and Seattle did not sack Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford one time. So again, they tried adding defensive end Draymond Jones this offseason. So far in one game, he's had very little impact. And if Seattle can't generate a pass rush this year, that's going to be a big, big problem. The 4 best defenses I saw during week one, the Jets, Cleveland, the 49ers, and the Cowboys, all of them got a ton of pressure on opposing quarterbacks. And if Seattle can't do that, it's going to be a long year. They're going to get destroyed by the 49ers. You know what I saw from the 49ers this week, by the way? Shout out to them. The 49ers, of all the offenses we saw week one, for the most part, defenses beat the offenses. It was a lot of sloppy offense, some really good defense being played week one. And that's part of the course. Offensive lines are harder to develop than a pass rush. It takes time to get your offensive line going. It's easier to have guys from week 1 on just really do well getting after the opposing quarterback on the defensive line. But the one team we saw in the NFL week 1 that executed at a high level on offense was the 49ers. And shout out to them, right? The 49ers did a great job. They deserve respect. And little tip of the cap to the Cardinals. I made fun of their coach a lot, but I said, hey, let's wait and see what happens. Let's see what the Cardinals do this year. I was very careful. I made fun of Jonathan Gannon, and then I tried to end the last half of that segment was, hey, let's see what he can do. Let's be fair. Week 1, the Cardinals lost 20-16 to Washington, but the Cardinals made it a game. Their defense looked good. They were competitive. They were fighting hard. I think that all things considered, the Cardinals were better than I expected. That deserves another tip of the cap. We'll see how the year goes for them, but I walked away. The point of this, I walked away very impressed with the Rams week 1. I was like, okay, wow. They're young guys. They're no-name young guys for the most part. 5th round pick, Puka Nacua, 119 yards, 10 catches. Their secondary is basically entirely late draft picks from last year. They got, a rookie left guard, a left tackle that I thought it was going to be Joe Noteboom. It became the other guy, Alaric Jackson, guy who's undrafted 3 years ago. Just young guys making play after play after play. Tutu Atwell, was it? I'm trying to remember the name. I want to say the right one. I wondering why I'm blanking on it. Kyron Williams, is that the name of their running back? Kyron Williams, yeah, thank you. I forget names sometimes. It freaks me out. I'm horrible with names. It's amazing. I remember the ones I do. But man, the Rams, I walked away very impressed, and they did a really good job week 1.